Y'all hear that when it says that there? Recording?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. No, just came through my headsets or not. Okay, here we go. We're ready to go. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight we are going to continue with our study of the universe, reality, and deity. Um, it's called the ultimate integration of reality. All right. And it covers all the deity and all the universe and what's in all the universe. And we started the first one last week. And for those who have not joined us before, this is a study. It's going to be multiple weeks on what you need to know to understand all the philosophy, the theology, the deity, and everything you need to know to study the Urantia book and understand it, really. So it's kind of a uh, primer course to get started on the Urantia book. And I taught it back in 2013. I've been telling everybody 2011 was 13, Rodney. That was when we were over. I think it was 11. That's when we started having meetings at the house. So, all right. So that was back in 2013. And all these lessons were on the YouTube pages and on our website, but you can't see them very well because when I first started recording, I didn't know what I was doing, and I tried to record it on a camera that I couldn't see. So that's why I'm redoing this so everybody can see the slides and see what we're talking about. So let's have a little prayer and we'll get started tonight. Father, thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for this wonderful revelation. Thank you for giving us the time to share this with one another and talk about it and try to understand what you have us to learn from the Urantia book, our revelation, and to clear up Jesus's life so that we actually knew what went on during Jesus's life and his concept of the world. We thank you. We give you the praise in your son, Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen.
There's not going to be as much reading tonight because I'm going to do a lot of showing you the charts in some cases and explaining what we're talking about. All right. Tonight we're starting the heavy duty stuff. The Urantia book has this philosophy that if you start with the most difficult stuff at the beginning of the book and the beginning of learning, and then you go to the easy stuff, when you get to the easy stuff, it's easy to remember it all. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're starting with the most difficult. And the very first thing we're going to talk about is the postulated I am, which I have a slide on this later on, but I just want to bring it up as we start. The postulated I am. The reason they call it the postulated I am is it came from the writings in the Old Testament. You remember when they said that God said, I am that I am? Remember that to Moses?
To Moses.
Right? This is what they're talking about. And the I am is a concept that God the Father was the original thing in all the universes of universe. Even before the universes was here, there was the concept of God the Father or the I am, which entailed everything. And this comes from this chart comes from Don Estes chart. Let me go down here a little ways. Let me find the right one on this one here. The Don Estes chart. Well, that's far away, but I'll wait and show it to y'all later. But this chart you see on the screen right now, this is 1/2 of the total top of the chart. And I did it in white because when we were studying this, we couldn't hardly see it in the red. Now, the interesting thing is, if I go down to, there we go, try it. That's the other half. That's the right side. If we go up, this is the left side of the chart. Okay. And you know that's the case. You see these lines here, this red, blue, and it looks like almost a tan colored line. If I go back down, you can see it comes back up from this right here on this side. Can you see
Mm,
that? So this is two sides of a chart. Now I want to show y'all, I also have this in blue. You see why I didn't do it all in blue?
yeah,
It,
it's
it's
hard
too
to
time.
read.
It's really hard to read, but I put them in there so that y'all know what the original chart looks like, and you can download this from our site. You can go out to the Donnie's Essie's chart. It's on the left side of the page. It'll take you to square circles, and you can download this whole chart for free, and it's huge. I'm not kidding you, because when we were teaching this class before, I did it in white and I did it in blue, and I took the white one down to a printer and had them print it huge. It was like 5 feet by 6 feet so that we could read it all. Okay. So this chart is very big. This is not all of it, not even close. It's very, very long, but it's called the origin and history and destiny of universe reality, and it covers the cosmology, cosmogony, the theogony of the Urantia book. It's everything there is to know about the Urantia book is on this chart, believe it or not.
And how do we get this book?
You want me to
I
show
mean,
you
this.
where to go out on the website to get it real quick?
Yeah,
I
if
can
you
do
if you
that.
don't mind.
I don't mind at all. Stop the share. Let me go down here to this one for just a minute. Just take me a second. If you go to the Atlanta Urantia Study Group or the Fifth Epical, either one, it's all got the same information exactly, right? And if you look down on the left-hand side, just to the left of where our meetings each week are posted, I post these the next day after we do a meeting, all right? And right down under UB Study Age is a link. It says Don Estes Universe Reality Chart. Do you see that?
No, you're not
Yep.
sharing it.
I'm not.
No.
Oh,
No.
I
We
guess you
see
can
you.
see it, can you?
We can see it just fine.
I can see it just fine. What's wrong
Mm,
with y'all? Hang on. Sorry. Try this again. Okay. Let's start from the top up here. Now you should be able to see it. Okay.
Yep.
So if you go down the left side, right next to the meetings, there's see my ugly face over on this one. All right. Right next to the meetings is one category is UB study aids. And under the UB
Okay.
study aids is the Don Estes universe reality chart. Okay.
Oh, okay.
You can click on, I'll go ahead and click on it so you can see what it looks like. And this is what comes up.
Great. Okay.
complicated.
All right. That's the whole chart. Now, the reason I'm saying this is the whole chart. You can see this. It's hard to see. It's so small, but this is the left-hand side of that white chart I was just showing you. Okay.
Right.
And notice how these lines go all the way across. Well, this is the right-hand side of that. It actually, the right-hand side doesn't go all the way over because this is too big to get on two screens. I'd have to have three.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you look at this chart, it takes you down through time, and it covers everything from life implantation on the planet all the way up through all of our history, all the way to today. Okay. And that's what all this, and this covers all the angels, all the beings, all the trinities, the creator sons, how the how paradise controls all matter. There's a line that goes all the way down, all the way around and back up that comes back up to paradise. But what I'm going to talk about tonight are the seven absolutes. And this is three of them right here. You see my mouse? That's three
Yeah,
of the absolutes. The other three of the absolutes are right here on this side,
Right.
including paradise. And that's the seven absolutes. But I wanted to show y'all this so that you can go over here and hit this little download key, save, and it will download this chart to your particular computer.
divide.
Right. And then
Okay.
once it's on your computer, you can blow it up as big as you want to. You can read it easily and go through the whole thing. Okay.
Hey, I didn't realize
Thank
that.
you.
Now, you can also, if you put this whole thing into your search engine, you used to be able, like 12 years ago, you could buy this online. I don't remember how
Okay.
much it was. So you can buy the whole chart if you'd like to have one. Okay. But this is on the Square Circles website as a download.
Great.
All right. Okay. So let's go back over here and unshare this. And share a new one again. Back over to here, and we should be good to go. Go back to Facebook on this one. Here we are. We're back. Hello, everyone. Okay, so this is the blue. This is the blue version of that. This is just like the one that I just showed you. It's only a little slice of it. Okay.
Right.
So I just cut it out on Photoshop. When I first started doing this, I called Don Estes, and I said, I like to use your slides. I'd like to cut it out and make slides out of it so I could use it to teach. And he said, that's great. So that's how we started this. Now I'm going to go back up here, back to the first one. Okay.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about a lot of things on this first slide. Now, like I said, there is so much information on this. If I miss something on it, don't worry about it. We're going to probably get to it in a later slide. But to start out with, in order to understand the whole universe, we have to understand that God the Father incorporates what's called 7 absolutes. And there are only 7 absolutes in all the universes. Okay, and this is the 7 absolutes. And you'll notice in these little circles here, there's a number. The very first one here, the first absolute is the universal Father himself. And that number on him is a number 1. Do you see that? Everybody see that? Okay. Let me make mine a little bigger down here so that I can see what's going on. Full screen here. No, I can't see it any better. So, okay, we'll keep going. So the universal Father is the very first original. So notice at the bottom of this, it says original absolute. It's small, but you should be able to read it. Can you read that, dude? Where
Yep.
my mouse is. Okay. Oh, I hit the next one. All right. So the universal Father is the very first absolute of the 7. Notice here it says thought. You see this? So all of reality comes into existence by the volition or the will of God the Father. Okay, so that's why they called this thought on the very first one. So there has to be the volition or the will of the universal Father before anything happens. Okay, then the next absolute is the original Son. And we're going to go through how all this occurred several times, but the original Son is called the expression or the Word. Okay? In the Bible, it's called the Word. And the Word was God, and the Word was with God, right? And that Word passed on through his creator sons. That's what they're talking about here, right? And this is, if you can read this underneath it, considered the second absolute, or there's a 2 there, or the spiritual absolute. So God the Father is the volitional absolute of everything. And then God the Son, the original Son, is the spiritual absolute in which all things spiritual exist. So you have to think about it this way. The first paradise, the paradise trinity includes the God the Father, God the Son, and the conjoint actor, or the infinite spirit. Plus, it also includes the Isle of Paradise, which we're going to see a little bit later here in a minute. But the first two is the thought, which is universal Father. The second, the expression or the word, is the original Son, number two. And the third one is the conjoint actor, or the third absolute. Okay. And the third absolute, notice under it says here, it says action. So think of it this way: the Paradise Trinity exists this way. God the Father has a thought, he expresses himself through the Son, and together they express themselves into the conjoint actor, and everything finite, physical, anything that comes into existence is the action of the conjoint actor. And the conjoint actor uses paradise as the base for all reality. Okay? Notice here it says physical gravity circuit returns to the energy to paradise, right? Everything originates above paradise. It comes back to paradise through the bottom. All right. So we notice here that the nuclear isle of paradise is considered the fourth absolute, or the original finite absolute. Okay. So that's four of the absolutes right there. And don't worry about it if you don't understand everything, because we're going to go through this enough that this is going to make perfect sense to you. Now, notice I said there were seven absolutes, just like there's seven of everything in the universes, right? The other three absolutes are right on this page with it. And this is called the experiential destiny absolute. Now, what is involved with experience? The supreme. The supreme, right? God the Supreme is the God of what? Experience. All right. So let's go through these three absolutes. First is the qualified absolute. It's also called the deity absolute. All right. The reason they call it both is because it is the absolute that incorporates anything that qualifies anything that's going on in the universe, whether as to it's deified or it's not deified. Okay. So anything having to do with the creator son, any of the associates of the higher levels of the celestial government and all these things, these are all associated as deity. So they call this the revealed
spiritual
absolute. Can you read my own writing? Slides there. The revealed spiritual absolute. Oops, what did they do there? There it is. Okay. So the revealed spiritual absolute is incorporated in the qualified absolute, or the deity absolute. Okay. Then number 6 is the universal absolute. Okay. Do you see that one?
Yes.
All right. What does it say underneath that one? Can somebody read that for me?
Associative.
Associative?
Right.
Huh?
The last word is absolute.
Yeah.
Oh, I should know this off the top of my head. But we're going to get this.
Yeah, I think it may be revolving.
Evolving absolute. No, it's the evolving absolute. I don't know why yeah. All right. Now, this universal absolute, the reason they call it the universal absolute, it takes deified things in the universe and adds it to the unqualified absolute. So if you would, it's kind of like the glue that keeps this trinity together. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, the last absolute, what did I do? Every time I hit that, it's going away, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, the last one, the unqualified absolute, is the unrevealed physical absolute. Why would it be called physical absolute? Because it's the unqualified absolute that has nothing to do with deity. Okay? It's the unqualified absolute that pulls the physical matter from neither paradise out into the universes to create the primordial forces that start the universes. Okay? The reason it doesn't have deity is it's not required for what it does. It's a total physical absolute. And so the qualified absolute or the deity absolute can communicate any deity function to the unqualified absolute through the universal absolute. Okay? So that's why that's a trinity. This is an experiential destiny absolute. Now, we can't discount the fact that paradise is part of these 7 parts. Another thing we can't forget is this. All 7 of these absolutes are part of what? The postulated I am. Okay, I am that I am. So all 7 of the absolutes has their origin and being and life within the purview of the I am or the universal Father, the first source and center. Got that? So if God the Father is the first source and center and he has a son, what does that make him? The second source and center, right? And what does that make the conjoint actor? The third source and center. And we got to remember that all 3 of this original Trinity does nothing outside the purview of all 3. They can act individually, but they always do things together.
Okay.
Okay. Now, they do these through what? The other absolutes, the destinies, right? And they do this through paradise. Without paradise, you couldn't have anything else because paradise is the beginning finite of all universes. Okay? Does that make sense? You still with me?
Okay.
Huh?
Kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of. Okay, well, don't give up because by the time we get through this, you will understand this perfectly. You will know exactly what I'm talking about here. Now, what I want to point out is this. There's other things on this slide that you can study on your leisure, but things like this, there are 7 triunities. These are combinations of the 3 paradise deities of the Trinity, along with other things that work with a combination of and there's 7 of those, and I'm not going to go through each one of those at this time because we're going to talk about it later. All right. But there's also 2 dual, what they call triodities, and the triodities are triune things working together like the Trinity without God, the universal Father, as the head. And that's why they're called triodities. They're oddities. You don't do anything without God the Father, right? So these combinations together are working some purpose that the universal Father does not have to get involved with. Okay? Let me give you an example. The first one, the triodity of actuality. This is the Son, God the Son, paradise, and the conjoint actor. So what are they talking about here? For all finite reality. All reality in the universe, there three things work together, even though it's inside God the Father. And those three things are God the Son, the eternal Son, the conjoint actor, and paradise. And why is that? Well, we're going to find out a little bit later on that God the Father created God the Son. Okay. And God the Father and the Son. All right. Well, when he created God the Son, the Isle of Paradise and Havona, billion worlds of Havona, appeared at the same instant. Okay. So God the Son and paradise and the Havona worlds all appeared simultaneously, because when God the Father created the Son, what did he need? He needed a dwelling place for his Son. Okay.
He didn't really create the sun.
No, they were eventuated.
Yeah.
In other words, when God had the thought of the Son, he's flashed into existence, full existence. And paradise and the paradise Havona system did the same thing, but the difference is this: Havona also involved the conjoint actor. Okay.
Correct.
And in order for the billion worlds of Havona to appear, the conjoint actor had to draw the material from where? Paradise. You follow me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's the big banana, as they say. All right. Let me go through one more little thing on this slide before we move on. Well, two things. First is there's 14 other trinities, origin beings in this chart below this, and I'm not going to get into those tonight, but there's 14 other trinities associated with the hierarchy of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit. Okay. And that's what these are down here. Now, one thing that's very, very important to us is this levels of God the sevenfold. And we're going to run into God the sevenfold over and over and over and over and over and over again in the book. Okay. So we need to know what they are. God the sevenfold, and we got a slide on this. Boy, honey, I'm not getting very far. It's such a short time. God the sevenfold involves the sevenfold creations of deities that we go through to get to God the Father. Okay. And everything in all seven super universes go through the same scale of beings to get to God the Father. And this is what's called the levels of God the sevenfold. So notice who's on the very first one. Number one is the paradise creator sons, because they create us. Okay. And part of that that's not on this chart is the creative mother spirits, because the creator sons cannot create anything without the creative mother spirits. Okay. So this first one includes the paradise creator sons and the creative mother spirits on every local universe, all 700,000 of them. The next level of deity that we will be associated with are the Ancients of Days. And why would that be? Because the Ancients of Days is the judicial branch of the super universe that has to make the decision whether we survive or not. Okay? Whether we make it past this world. So that's our next step up to God the sevenfold. The next step up past the Ancients of Days is the seven master spirits. You see that underneath there? There's a master spirit and the head of all seven of the super universes. And on our way to paradise, we have to recognize our master spirit, which that's a whole nother class all in itself. And notice here, the fourth one is what? The supreme being. That's a whole class just for the supreme being. The supreme being is coming into existence by the experience of every single being in all the universes. Okay? The supreme being was created or eventuated by the Trinity in paradise eons ago. And before the supreme being can come into full fruition as a personality, he has to have the experience of every single being in the super universes. And in order to do that, we help create the supreme being because we are under the purview of the supreme being. Now, interesting part about that is this. You know how we have a thought adjuster, don't we? Right? Thought adjuster is that father fragment within us that saves all of our experiences and transposes those into spiritual experiences in our soul so that when we wake up on the mansion worlds, we have experience as a spiritual being, even though we're just Urantia. Okay? Now, the interesting part of that is this. All of our experiences creates our soul, and our soul allows us to eventually fuse with that thought adjuster and become a real spiritual person eventually, right? Well, guess how it works with the Supreme? The Supreme is taking in experiences just like we do with the thought adjuster. You can think of the Supreme right now being just like the thought adjuster. It's taking in, don't hug on my set.
That's my grandson. It's okay.
Yeah, he looks just like you. Uh, So the Supreme is taking in all the experience, just like our thought adjuster takes experiences of us. The Supreme is taking in all of the experience of every single being throughout all 7 super universes. And when this is complete, all the way completely done, what happens? The Supreme evolves as a personality. Okay? So when the Supreme completely evolves as a personality, he becomes God the Supreme. All right. And as God the Supreme, he has added to his own experience to create his own position or own personality. Does that make sense? So if you think about it, it works like this. We are creators of our own future, are we not? We create all of our own experiences. All those experiences goes into our soul. All those experiences merge with our thought adjuster and we become a real spiritual person, right? God the Supreme, it works the same way. He collects all the experience from all beings. And even though he's already a being in paradise, he doesn't have a personality yet, does he? So all that information goes in to set the 7th master spirit as his vicegerent. That's how that's how he collects all this information. He literally becomes the clearinghouse for all the experience of all the worlds.
So, Roger,
Yeah.
it's almost as if the supreme being is God's soul.
In essence, but it would not be God's soul, it would be the Trinity's soul.
The Trinity's soul. Okay.
Right. Because the supreme being is the finite representative. He is the deity of finality. He's the finite deity of the 7 super universes. Okay. So as he collects that experience and he comes into full fruition, he goes from being God, the supreme being in paradise. He collects all this stuff, collects all this experience, and when he is completely done, he evolves as a full-fledged personality, just like God the Father is a full-fledged personality. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
But he is what? He is the finite God.
Mhm.
That's what's important here. That's why the Supreme is so important in our lives. Think of it this way. God the Father is the first source and center of everything, right? All of our personalities, all the angels' personality, all of everything. Even the infinite spirit gets his personality from where? God the Father. So did the Son. Then the Son is the God of spiritual reality, is he not? All spiritual beings answer as we become spirit beings, we transfer from just finite to spiritual beings, then will we be under the full tutelage and welfare of the original Son, God the Son. Okay? Now, what does that make the conjoint actor? All right? The conjoint actor not only involves the morantia, the finite, and the physical, the finite, and what we'll eventually grow into, but it also includes everything that's finite and physical in all the super universes. So he becomes, if you would, the God of the finite outside of experience, and the God of the finite experience becomes the supreme. Okay, so you can see where there's a need of the God, the supreme, the finite God. Okay, and I know this is a lot to cover in one night, but that's the basic breakdown of the original seven absolutes. Now, what I want to mention here on this slide before we get off of it too is notice here it says the nuclear isle of paradise, right? And right underneath it, it's got this thing that goes in and out. Notice how it's coming above the unqualified absolute here? It's the unqualified absolute that pulls the matter out away from nether or neither paradise, right? And it's, well, I hit it again, didn't I? It went too far that time. There we go. All right. So what the unqualified absolute does this. It says space, rarefied paradise matter. That's what's coming from paradise. Is pulled or stretched away by the unqualified absolute non-deity, right? To the edge of the master universe. It also does the same thing for all outer space levels, okay? As the unqualified absolute does this, when it gets it to the matter to the point where it's primordial matter, then the architects of the paradise take over and they organize it into space functioning matter so that the paradise creator sons can create the universes. Okay? So this was what starts it all. And notice it up here at the top, this goes all the way down through everything. And then it says physical gravity circuit returns energy to paradise. And before I get off of these, I want to go back up one more time. And you see these circuits? These are the circuits that we talk about over and over and over again. The gravity circuit of paradise, right? The sun circuit of spiritual circuit includes the paradise circuit and and the conjoint actors mind circuit comes back into here. So all these circuits leave paradise, go all the way out through all seven super universes, and then return to above paradise as the same circuit. So all these circuits we use, or they use for energy, spirit, mindal, everything comes from paradise as it started. Lot to it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, Gary, don't think that you've lost your mind. You're going to start understanding this, believe it or not. You go, I don't believe it. Okay. I want to show y'all a couple charts here tonight before we get too far. This is all that we just talked about at the top part of this slide. All right. And I've moved the nuclear Isle of Paradise down here so that it would fit in. Okay. So this is the 7 absolutes and how the 7 absolutes incorporate all possible combinations of the trinities and the absolutes in all the super universes. Okay. And we're not going to go through these others down here because it would take us months and months to do it all. Okay. We'll do that as we go through the things. Now, I have another another slide underneath this. This is the exact same slide with all the other technical jargon that's included in typing around it. That's the only difference between the two. I did it both ways so that you could see a clear picture of it if you want to use it, or you could go down to the next one and it gives you explanations of things, which we will talk about at a different point. Okay. The reason I use this, I don't know if anybody's been to my house. All my computers have this slide as the background on my computer. You know why I have it as a background? So that I can read it over and over and over and over again. Because it's so much information, it's not something you can just read and remember. Yeah. But if you see it every day, it becomes a part of you. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make all this information part of you. This is the white version of the chart we were just talking about. Okay, see how big it is. All right. So let's go on to the actual paragraph here. Rodney, I'm going to let Rodney take this. I'm going to let Rodney read this, okay?
Sure.
You read, I'm going to let Rodney read, okay?
So the whole...
No, I want you to read this, the first paragraph.
Yeah, okay. The highest level to which a finite creature can progress is the recognition of the universal Father and the knowing of the Supreme. And even then, such beings of finality, destiny, go on experiencing change in the motions of the physical world and in its material phenomena. Likewise, do they remain aware of selfhood, progression, and their continuing ascension of the spiritual universe and of growing consciousness in their deepening appreciation of and response to the intellectual cosmos. Only in the perfection, harmony, and unanimity. Of will can the creature become as one with the Creator. And such a state of divinity is attained and maintained only by the creatures continuing to live in time and eternity by consistently conforming his finite personality, personal will to the divine will of the Creator. Always must the desire to do the Father's will be supreme in the soul and dominant over the mind of an ascending Son of God. Okay, first of all, this is Jesus's teaching words when he was teaching at Rome, okay, to a group of philosophers, I believe it was. So this is why this is so important. Jesus was trying to teach
people on the level as high as they could possibly understand it. Okay. So let's go through this first paragraph. I'm hoping I can finish this whole slide before we quit tonight. All right. So what he's saying right off the bat, that any finite creature can progress as long as they recognize the universal Father, which is the first source and center, right? And know the Supreme. Why is it that we have to know the Supreme? See, this is a problem. When you first start reading the book, you have no idea what the Supreme is, right? And they throw these paragraphs at you and you go, what the heck are they talking about? You know? So that's why we want to do this. So now we know that the universal Father is the first source and center, right? And we know that the Supreme is an evolving deity or God that's taking in all the experience of every single being in the 7 super universes, all the mortals. Okay. So this God, the Supreme, will become the finite God. Why will he be the finite God? Because all the experience he's taken in started as finite beings.
Correct.
Right? So that's why it's called the Supreme. So what Jesus is telling us is the most important thing we can learn is the recognition of the Father and the knowing of the Supreme. You got that?
Yes.
This is what Jesus is teaching us. All right. And then he goes on to tell us that even if we know these two things, even if we know the universal Father and we know what the Supreme is, it is our destiny to go through experiences through the motions of the physical world and all its material ups and downs and phenomena, right? To grow ourselves in a progressive format to make it to paradise. That's basically it, right? Okay, so that's what he's trying to teach us here. But it says, he also says here that it's important for us to remain aware of our selfhood in the progression as an ascending mortal from Urantia to spiritual, from spiritual to the higher levels of spiritual, all the way until the time we become one with the Creator, which is God the Father, right? Till we meet God the Father. All right. So it is important for us to remember our selfhood, in other words. All this experience we've got in this world is so important that when you wake up on the mansion worlds, you remember what happens to you. You got it? Because if you don't remember anything, you haven't learned anything, have you? Right? It's through our trials and tribulations that we learn. All right? And as we do this, we get a deepened appreciation to the intellectual cosmos, to the mind circuit of the cosmos. So as we do this, go up over levels, we can understand the cosmos more and more. And that's what this book is about. As we go through this from the most difficult to the easy, we learn more and more and more, and we start to understand this and we start to own it and becomes part of us. So it prepares us for what? Our attainment going to paradise. Okay? Gives us experience, which is the most important things we can do. All right. Then he goes on to say, this state of divinity. Why is he calling it the state of divinity? Because when you fuse with your adjuster, you have a divine fragment that becomes a part of you, right? So you become what? Divine as the Son of God, right? As the state of divinity attained and maintained only by the creatures continuing to live in time and eternity, conforming his finite personality will to the divine will of the Creator. You see that? Where do we start that? Right here, right now. Now. Yeah.
Right now. Yeah.
Right here, right now. So as we give in to the will of the Father, and the Father's will becomes will over our soul and dominant, then we actually click into the mind of the ascending sons of God. We become an ascending son, right? And you can do that right now, every day, just by trying to do the will of the Father. Now, the next one's kind of interesting the way it goes to this. Bill, would you take the next one, please?
Sure. A one-eyed person can never hope to visualize depth of perception. Neither can single-eyed material scientists nor single-eyed spiritual mystics and allegoricists, is that right?
That's right.
Allegoricists
That's right.
correctly visualize and adequately comprehend the true depth of universe reality. All true values of creature experience are concealed in the depth of recognition.
So what's Jesus telling us? He's saying you can't go through life as a scientist and not include religion and philosophy, spiritual things, can you?
No.
You can't go through life as just a spiritual monk and not appreciate science and the complexities of everything physical in your material existence, can you? Because you're looking at the world as a one-eyed person. You don't see the depth of the world, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So to experience life, you have to have both the spiritual, the mystical, the religious, the philosophy, all these things have to come together to give you a concept with depth of recognition of the cosmos. You can't separate them. In other words, there's not such a thing as just science. There's not such a thing as just religion. There's not just a thing as just a spiritual life. You have to incorporate it all. All right. Gary, would you take the next one, please? Turn your speaker on, your mic on.
Ready?
Yeah.
Mindless causation cannot evolve the refined and complex from the crude and the simple. Neither can spiritless experience evolve the divine characters of eternal survival from the material minds of the mortals of time. The one authority of the universe, the one attribute of the universe, which so exclusively characterizes the infinite deity, is this unending creative bestowal of personality, which can survive in progressive deity attainment.
Okay, two things in this paragraph I need to bring out. First, mindless causation, okay, cannot evolve a refined and complex from the crude and simple. What is he talking about there? He's talking, there is no Big Bang. Okay, why is there no Big Bang? Because what they're saying that the universe is developed from no cause whatsoever. Okay, without deity over control. That's what they're trying to tell you with the Big Bang. Okay, there is no Big Bang. There never was. It's respiration of the universe, and we're going to see a perfect slide of this in this presentation later. But the fact that things can evolve with no plan, even human life has a plan. When the life carriers brought the ooze to the planet, they had already worked out the plan a million years before it ever developed. Okay, everything has a cause, not a mindless cause. Okay. The other thing I want to bring out as a point in this is the way that the Urantia book approaches teaching us all the information in the book. Okay, and that is this. What Jesus is trying to tell us for the material minds of mortal time is the fact we have to start at the top. We have to start at the infinite deity as our concept on the hard concepts and work our way down. It doesn't work the other way around. In other words, if you have no training of your mind and you have no concepts, you have nothing to build on. Okay? And that's why I felt it was so important to reteach this class again. By giving us the infinite deity concepts and breaking these things down so that we know what we're going to talk about, then when we read it, it becomes part of us and we own it. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's why in the Urantia book, they start with what? The difficult at the beginning, deity. And then they work down through the book, it becomes less and less and less difficult. However, you cannot understand the less difficult without the concepts of the difficult. Why is that? Because when you read it, you don't even notice that it's there. Okay? Yeah. When you read through it and it's talking about the absolute, you're going, huh? What's the absolute? That's not really a word, is it? You know? So that's the way it works. Now we got through a couple slides, didn't we? All right. Next time we're going to start on the master universe, a whole new level, right?
when people used to talk to me about the Big Bang, I used to tell them, I said, that's God.
Yeah, that's God is the Big Bang. Yeah, if you want to believe in that, it'd take God to start the Big Bang, right? It's got to have a start symbol. Right. All right, y'all. I had a breath tonight. I feel like I'm in preaching again. Gary, you look very unhappy. I can't hear you, Gary.
You're muted.
Oh.
It's been a rough day and a rough session, and I happen to be being attacked textually from my liberal friends.
Oh, okay. Well,
Gary,
may I
say something? May I say something?
Let me say this first. In another hour, Trump will probably be on, so go listen to Trump's speech. So
I don't do that.
No.
I try to stay away from that type of stuff. I try to do my analysis from actions and stuff.
Yeah.
And I have been attacked the last hour almost.
Yeah.
Actually,
well, the reason I said that is because apparently, from what the news said this afternoon, that Trump has had an epiphany of some sort, and that he rewrote his speech for tonight because it didn't fit what he felt like he needed to say anymore.
No, I'll try and listen to it.
Well,
but you hear this here little stuff beeping going on?
Oh, yeah.
And I just realized that this particular guy is the son of a former U.S. congressperson.
Really?
He was in Washington, D.C. during Kennedy's assassination as a baby, as a child.
Yeah.
I think age of 10.
Yeah.
He's close to my age. All right. Yeah. And I've gotten the epiphany that what this group is doing, they're doing the equivalent of standing out in front of somebody and just calling them names without any basis whatsoever.
Well, that's why I like to stay away from it completely. Yeah, that's why I like to stay away from
back to them. I'm saying, give me some basis for what you say.
Yeah,
and I get another accusation. Yeah. If I believed what they believed, I'd go out and shoot the son of a gun.
Well, let's not do that.
No, and but this stuff is absolute, unfounded, ridiculous BS.
It is. Well, I think it's like Diane says. I think it's evil. I really do, and that's why I try to stay away from it as much as possible. I just try to do my responsibility as a citizen to make choices in my politics and stuff that I believe are along the line what God would have me do. And that's all we can
Yes.
do.
These
That's
are good
all we
Yes.
can do.
This is
You know.
this here is a Urantia group.
I know somebody that runs one like that. She used to be.
I mean, I'm sorry.
She used to be in our group, actually. All right, well, let's say a prayer and we'll quit for tonight. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight. Thank you for opening our hearts and minds, allowing us to taste some of this with us, that we understand a little bit better so that we know what's going on in the world and we try to do your will each and every day of our lives. We thank you. We give you the praise in your son, Michael Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
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 Let
Amen.
me stop this recording over here first.
I'm sorry for interrupting and introducing